It's me again, JSJ. Now we're doing sesame chicken for dinner tonight. Now the most important part is the meat. And I learned this the hard way. I tried it for like 3 or 4 times with chicken breast, boneless chicken breast. You can't do that. You gotta get these things called chicken thigh cutlets. You basically want a chicken or a meat that's got all the fat in it, which is further down. The boneless stuff you really do not want. If it says boneless chicken breast. So anyways, I feel really guilty about doing this, but slice them into about 3 or 4 inch chunks like this, kind of flimsy. The ones from Wegmans here, the club pack, they're kind of like, they're cut in the middle, so they're really thin like Chinese food to begin with. Slice them up, throw them in your bowl, because we're going to marinate these suckers. Now once you marinate them, it's going to taste like the real deal. There we go. And of course everything here, all this stuff's going to go in the cleaner afterwards, and the vegetables are going to touch a whole separate platter. You never want to mix vegetables and meat, especially with like raw eggs and chicken and meats, because you get like an E. coli infection or something. So you just slice the little chunks up like that, make some cool shapes. You know how chicken McNuggets have like 4 different shapes? They got the boot shape, the oval shape. That's what I do with sesame chicken. I make it natural. So this one's a leg, this one's like a heart or something. You throw them in the bowl here. Well, that's that part. Okay, I'll pause this for now and I'll show you the next part. So folks, the next part, once you made the little thigh cutlets into little pieces like that, is the marinade. Now, when it comes to Chinese food, marinade doesn't mean the fancy shit you do at like a summer picnic, where you got the huge thing of Caesar dressing with like the chunks of Parmesan cheese. Marinade for Chinese food is basically something just to break up the fat. So we're going to throw in some soy sauce here. Actually, it's more of a salt, but kind of like this. All over the place. And then we're going to stir it up a little bit. This is a Chinese marinade. They don't use the weird shit like we do on shish kebabs. All this is going to do is make the meat a little bit softer. Poke some holes in it. And just let it sit for like 30 minutes in the fridge, or if it's really, really cold with ice on it, leave it out on the counter, it's fine. This is before we put the mild grunion on it, but it's going to look like this with a darker tone to it. But yeah, marinade for Chinese food means, especially when deep frying, is just saturated with soy sauce. You don't put the spices in there, you do the spices in your sauce. So we're going to let this sucker sit, and that's part 2. Now folks, this is the part that's going to sound tricky, and what we're doing here is we're going to make the actual sauce part for the sesame chicken before we actually stir fry the chicken, or actually I should say deep fry it. But grab a fancy cup like this, it's about 2 cups worth, and once you get the hang of this shit, you're going to use the same cup for it all the time. The key parts for Chinese food are ginger root and garlic. Now, this is going to sound bad, but when Chinese people use garlic, they don't smell like Indian people in line at Wegmans where you're like, what's that smell? Because everything in Chinese food is cooked so well that you don't even smell the garlic afterwards. So I'd say grab about 5 cloves of peeled garlic. This is the best one from Wegmans. It's already clean cut. You can get it from Price Right too, pretty cheap. Either chop it up really small, or else put it in a garlic press like this. And let's see. Take some handwork here. This sucker's huge. We'll put this one in next. But I put 5 cloves into my glass here. 2, 3, 4, and this sucker's got to get cut right here. 5. Okay. So, once again, it's already peeled garlic. And it looks like that when you're done. And it's not going to smell funny at all, believe me. You can yell this garlic the next day, you're not going to smell funny like some people you've smelled before. Ginger is the next thing. We got to have this little slicer for this. My brother got me this for Christmas. Watch your fingers. Throw it into the slicer. Just throw it out into the counter or something, but make about 5 to 8 big slices. This stuff is strong. I don't know if you ever tasted real ginger root, but man, if you don't cook this first, it is strong. Now a couple nights ago I made food without actually chopping it up, and I just used big chunks. It tasted fine, but then once you ate the chunk, it was a little bit bitter, so we're going to chop the chunks up a tiny bit. That's fine, because we're going to be boiling this in the sugar mixture, so it's going to get pretty soft anyway, so here we go. So we got some garlic and some ginger mixed together. Just eyeball everything, it doesn't really matter. Here's the hard part. The big thing, cornstarch. I'm going to put this over here so we don't get confused. You got the two ingredients here, garlic and ginger root. We got cornstarch, a chili pepper sauce. You could also use fresh chilies here, which I always add too. You could use a hoisin sauce. I do this every other time. I mean, it adds a little bit of flavor. It's like an oyster sauce, but it's not really. You definitely need vinegar. White vinegar is better. The rice vinegars for Chinese food, these are better for like a shrimp with lobster sauce. The white vinegar is what you want for sesame chicken. This is too sweet. Then we've got some chili oil. This is good if you don't have chili peppers. We might use a little bit. You also need white sugar. You can use brown sugar too. It don't really matter. And of course, soy sauce. So, where's my big tablespoon? I always start the deal like this. I grab the soy sauce. I put about 3 to 4 tablespoons in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just to make it black. Well, we'll do 5. Soy sauce is done. Put that back. Vinegar, eyeball it. I always like to fill the vinegar about almost a quarter of a cup. Maybe a little bit more. If it don't smell right before I cook it, I can add some more. Now chili oil, this shit is hot. Not hot like it's going to burn your mouth, but just hot like spicy for a couple seconds. Throw in a little bit, like a teaspoon. This is the good stuff. What is it called? Sriracha hot chili sauce. It's ground up chili peppers. And this is what all the Chinese people use. If you're authentic Chinese in a restaurant, you're going to use this stuff. Just throw in like about a tablespoon or 2. And then hoisin sauce. This is that mystical sauce. I don't really know what's in it, but it just makes Chinese food taste like Chinese food, so. About 2 teaspoons of that. This stuff is sticky too, so you gotta kind of keep wiping it. And this goes in the fridge after, so that goes over there. And then lastly, we're gonna eyeball the sugar. I want to say about 2 teaspoons. This much sugar is what I did last night. It turned out fine. We're going to do more authentic, so we're going to do a full 3.5 tablespoons. That sweetens it up. And now all you need is the cornstarch. Now you can eyeball cornstarch pretty good. I'm a professional chef, so I'm not used to measuring things. This is an extra tablespoon. I put that in there, plus this much. Because the thing with cornstarch is, whoopsies, you can always overdo it, but as long as you know how to cook it right, as long as you don't overcook it, you're not going to come out with a big gelatin glob. So you just undercook it until it starts to get creamy or thick, and then you stop cooking. And then we're going to stir this all together. Now there's one key ingredient missing here. Watch this. We're stirring this together. So total, this is 1 cup of pure salt, MSG, sodiums, garlic, ginger. About a half of a jar full. Now here's the missing ingredient. Water, folks. Right here. So now we got 2 cups of our mixture. Well, guess what, Ronan? There's something missing still. This doesn't look like the Chinese restaurant. Well, let me open the cupboard door. Oh shit, it's closed. Anyways, the camera's in front of my door, but I was going to show you. The next step is to add about 4 drops of red food coloring. That makes it pure red. And then when you cook it, it looks like the shiny red stuff you get from the restaurant. But if you smell it now, oh shit, I forgot ingredients. Sorry. It's actually smelling just like Chinese food without being cooked. The final ingredient is sesame oil, the most favorite part of Chinese food. I'm throwing about a tablespoon of this. Don't fry the chicken in this. This stuff is strong. It's got a super nutty flavor like a peanut or a sunflower seed. Actually more like a peanut or almond, but so stir in the sesame oil. This is what gives it that really dark flavor. It's almost not tangy enough, so that's when you gotta use your nose really well. I put a little bit too much sugar in this, and I gotta vinegar it out and add some of that. Alright, once this shit cooks, God, you're gonna think I'm from the Jade Palace or something. Okay, so this is our sauce. This is part 3. Okay, so we're on to part 4 in a second. It's been almost 30 minutes, so let's move on. Okay, folks, so the next thing is put your oven on high, the stovetop, I should say. You have a big ass pan like this. This is like a fake wok. Well, it's like a half-size wok with a Teflon. Throw the thing in there. Now, I've got oil. Normally, I would say do not use vegetable oil. Use canola oil. This is from last night, so I'm not going to waste oil. But fill about half full with oil, enough to actually cover chicken and stuff. Let me show you what I've got here. So this sucker's on high right now with oil. But you want to buy like a gallon container of this if you're going to start cooking Chinese food, because you go through this in a hurry. This lasts about a month because you keep reusing it. Canola oil. You could do like regular, don't do olive oil, but you could do vegetable oil. There's no flavor. Canola oil has like a doughy flavor, almost like fried dough. So that's how I think the Chinese people actually make it taste really good. So that's canola oil. Now there's two things when it comes to cooking sesame chicken. Where's my thing here? You could do it the fake way, which is like this, and buy like the fake batter for sesame chicken, or any sort of like battered stuff, but that's a waste. You can do it yourself with flour, salt, baking soda, and some cornstarch. Myself, I'm on a low carb diet, so I've been using this, either no starch whatsoever on it, or rice flour. Now, rice flour is this here. It's made from rice, of course, but it's so fine, and when it cooks, it actually cooks. It doesn't expand like baking soda and flour would. It just cooks and just stays the exact same size, like a grain of salt. So here's the stuff I marinated earlier, and I'm going to coat this shit with rice flour. I can put all I want in because I'll just put the extra off. Just enough to kind of make it a little bit dapper, fix it up a little bit. I go through a lot of it, but it's not low carb, but the thing with rice flour is it's like microscopic. It's more smaller than cornstarch. So when you put this on, and once it falls off, you're not really going to gain weight if you're on a low carb diet. But it still tastes like breaded chicken fully. So we're going to stir this stuff up. And here's our sesame chicken. After it's been battered for 30 minutes, or not battered, but what's the term? Marinated with soy sauce. We've got to coat it with rice flour. And I like rice flour more than anything because it's just perfect. It doesn't get fat when you cook it. Everything stays in the pan, don't expand. So that's rice flour. Now when you folks were waiting for me, I found something in the cupboard, red food coloring. Here's the original sauce I made. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do 5 drops tonight. It don't look as red when you cook it, before you cook it, but as soon as you cook this, it gets like bright red, like a strawberry. 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm gonna have to wash that container because I had raw chicken on my hands. So yeah, this is what you do with any sort of sauce if you want it to be red. Got a little bit of food coloring. So, let's see here. We got the breaded chicken going. This is frying. We're going to give that about 5 to 10 minutes. I want it to be super hot. And canola oil has a really high smoke point, so I'm not worried about it overheating or anything. That's part 4 or 5. The next part we're going to do is we're going to fry this stuff. And then once we put this in a separate pan, we're going to actually make the sauce. And I'll show you guys how to watch the temperature and make sure it doesn't get too thick or too thin, whatever. Bye for now. Okay folks, so the next thing I talked about or the last thing I talked about, was the frying pan and the chicken with rice flour. It's coated. The first thing you want to do is grab some paper towels because oil splattering is going to get pretty messy. So, we got some paper towels. We'll just put that like that. And I told you rice flour is really good, especially for a low carb diet, because it doesn't expand. It really falls off the chicken. Because it's not like a wheat, it's not glutinous. It's not like a wheat gluten. It just sticks perfectly to the chicken. It doesn't turn all gooey like when you throw in flour and baking soda and stuff. Or even cornstarch. Cornstarch turns all glutinous. We got the oil pretty much done. The next thing you need is a huge spatula. Like the metal kind with the holes in it so you can drain the oil. We're just going to see if the oil is hot enough. Yeah, it's bubbling, so look at this. Just like when I used to make donuts. We're going to throw some stuff in here. Now I should have the fan on, but I want you to hear me, so I'm not going to have the fan on right now. And because it's very fizzy, I'm going to use a fork to kind of separate it. As you're throwing this stuff in, just kind of separate it into little chunks like that. Now, a lot of people think that to deep fry food at home, you have to have a huge deep fryer like this big, like huge. Nope. All you need is a little frying pan, a skillet, a wok. Fill it with oil and you're all done. Now, the 10th thing, well, I did the 9th, but the 10th thing I like about rice flour is that when you're cooking raw meats with rice flour, it's not like a regular batter with regular flour, because when you're soaking chicken with regular flour, about 2 minutes after you deep fry it, the stuff's starting to brown off and turn super brown and like burn. But with rice flour, the burn point is totally different, so it almost cooks at the same temperature as the meat. So when the rice flour is done, you know your meat's done, which is really weird. And I gotta let you know something, folks. I'm not really a professional chef, like I said earlier. I just know what works, so. So here's my chicken with rice flour. We're gonna let this cook for about, what time is it, Ronan? It's 13:48 military time. We're gonna let this cook for about at least 5 minutes or until the rice flour is totally brown. Almost dark brown, but not crunchy. And if you're not sure, if you're really worried about eating some raw meat, pull a piece out like this. That's not done, of course, but I'm just showing you for example. Get a clean knife and go like this. That's raw. Put it back in. Okay, so we got all this chicken frying here. Wow. I feel like I should work in a fucking restaurant. So let's let that cook, folks, and I'm going to pause this for now. We got about 2 or 3 minutes to go. Wow, that's hot. And then I'll show you the rest of the deal. I got to wash off my hands quick because they're all grease. And I'll show you how to sterilize the countertop afterwards. Okay, so it's about 5 to 7 minutes. We have a clean bowl here. We're going to take our freshly cooked food out of the fryer now. It's always a good idea to put a little bit of the paper towel over the edge just before it catches fire. Almost like that. And then scoop this shit out into the bowl. I know a lot of mothers out there always say like, oh, put it on a paper towel, let the fat drain, but to me it don't matter. I'm on a low carb diet anyway, so I can eat all the oil I want. I'm not going to gain weight. I'm going to probably lose weight. So we're pulling the chicken out of the fryer after 5 to 7 minutes. Man, this stuff is, it is smelling golden. It smells like a fresh donut if you ask me. Wow. Now if you would have used regular batter, it wouldn't smell like a fresh donut. It'd smell like something else. Well, that's making a funny sound. What you always want to do is have a backup. This is my backup pan right here. Here you go. Don't go down the drain, go in here. There we go. So now the pan's ready again for some more work. We'll turn it off for now. Oil I'm going to save for later. I can skim it if I want to, if there's any sort of chunks in it, but I'll throw that in there for now, if it fits. Get in there. And of course, whenever you're deep frying, there's going to be fucking splatters everywhere. So many families don't deep fry either because the mom is like, oh, it's so bad for the kids, or it just makes a fucking mess like it does right here. See that? It splatters everywhere, even if you're the most careful person. The finest droplets just get all over the place, so we'll clean that tonight later on. Let it smoke off a little bit. But here's what it looks like. Look at that, folks. Mmm. God, it smells like a fucking fresh donut to me. So we're going to put this in a pan over here. And the next step we're going to do, I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to pause. Okay, folks, so here's the last step of being a Chinese wannabe chef. Your clean cutting platter. This is Sesame Chicken, episode 1. Dice some broccoli. And when I say dice it, do not cut it like this. Do not cut it like this. Believe me. Don't do that. Chinese people go like this. And they go like this on angles. Every time you go into a Chinese restaurant, everything's cut on an angle. That's the way they do it. So just don't ask me questions. Just do it like that. So whenever you slice Chinese vegetables, make sure it's got a sharp angle like this. Watch this. Like that. Or like this. This is what you don't want to do. No. You go downwards to make it a right angle. Now the broccoli, it's a very hard vegetable. So we're not even going to stir fry this. We're just going to put it at the bottom for a big fresh bowl that's been cleaned. Like this. And once we pour the sesame chicken on top of it, it's going to cook really fast. That's another thing that beginners don't understand is that when you're mixing vegetables with meats and hot sauces, vegetables cook much faster than meats. So whatever you do, do not cook the broccoli. If you're doing stir fry, fine, stir fry it. But when you're doing sesame chicken, leave it raw in the pan because once you pour the 500-degree sauce on it, it's going to cook in a heartbeat. This goes in the garbage. Okay, that's done. Now the next step is to take our sauce here that we made earlier. You can make this anytime during the whole spiel, but I make it about when I'm starting to fry the chicken because I work really fast. I did it slow for you guys tonight because you were watching me, but now I've got the pan on high. It was on 8. I'm going to throw this stuff in. Watch this. You hear that? Now, the key to this is grab the fucking stirs in a hurry. I spilled some shit. Hang on. Okay. Bamboo stirs. Any Chinese guy has these. Stir this in a hurry. Because once you start to fry sugar and water and cornstarch, if you don't stir it, it burns. So we're stirring here. Let's see what happens. Once it hits that magic point, everything turns to like gelatin instantly. Especially with cornstarch and vinegar and water and sugar. Oh, it's getting there. It wasn't totally on high when I told you that, so we'll just clean up as we go. Got that. More paper towel. Okay. There we go. It's getting there now. Now it's on high. Watch this shit go in a hurry. Yep, now it's starting to turn. Right now it's turning to like the Jello guy. Yeah, it's starting to get really chunky right now. So keep on stirring. There we go. It's getting thick. Wow. Look at this. Well, you're not here, but look at this. It's getting thick. We're almost done. I'll show you the next step. Now there's two versions of this. You could actually take half the chicken, half the broccoli, and throw it in here and mix it together. I do it differently. It's almost gelatin. It's very, 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 very slimy right now. I'm not going to do a mix in the wok. I'm going to take my bowl here, throw the chicken in from earlier. Let's get in there. It only takes a minute, folks. There we go. Hot sesame sauce right there. Turn that sucker off, fluff it up. Wow, this shit's fucking hot. Well, I made a double batch tonight. If it was just like a single batch or something, I'd probably mix it all in the pan, but this was too big. I don't have a real wok like a Chinese man would. And when you have really small pans, you tend to drop shit all over the place, especially when you're trying to flip stuff like this. It just flies all over, but let's see. So now, we'll let that sit. I like to let it sit for about 10 minutes to cook the broccoli, but this is what it looks like. Oh wait, hang on. Gotta wash my hands quick. And then we'll do the sterilization of the countertops after this, but sesame chicken. Check that shit out, folks. Sesame chicken. Fuck, I used too much vinegar, but I improvise every time. Goodbye. Now, I do this for all the kindergartners out there, but whenever you're cooking with raw meats, you gotta clean up after yourself, folks. My favorite tool is Clorox. When I spray this shit down like you wouldn't believe, everything, stove tops, let this sit for a good 20 seconds or so. Clorox the shit out of it because you can never be too careful. And then once I Clorox it, I'll probably clean it 5 times more after, but I heard Clorox bleach kills a lot of stuff, so I got that going. Stove, this is all oil. That's still warm. It's getting there though. So at least the bad stuff. I'm not a crazy fuck or anything, but I'm a fucking clean dude. And when you have raw meat or shrimp around your place, you gotta Clorox the fuck out of it to kill the bacteria. So there. This is what you do with the counter before you clean it. Prep work. Okay. I think that solidifies our Sesame Chicken episode. I should probably go put this on Facebook now. But if any of you mothers out there would like to try it, believe me, as long as your kids aren't overweight, just do it. It's fried food, but if they're thin, they're not going to gain any weight. So if they're overweight, I'd say maybe wait till an episode of my vegetables or salad or something. Yeah, wait till that one. Goodbye.